Yes, faced with the challenge of summing up today in the 10 minutes that we have yet left in our calendar, I'm reminded of that Mark Twain quote around, I wrote you a long letter, but I didn't have time, because I didn't have time to write you a short one. I'm going to have a go, but I'm going to start with some things that we should do. Firstly, I just want to signpost two events that the Soil Association is organising later on in the year. Firstly, as part of and coinciding with our 10th anniversary of the Innovative Farmers Programme, our farmer-led innovation field lab programme, we're organising, with the help of Professor Tim Benton at Chatham House, an event on international farmer-led innovation, of which IF is clearly one example, perhaps the most obvious UK example. So that will take place in the autumn. Secondly, in November, we will hold our annual Peter Melchett Memorial Lecture. Very pleased to let you know that the speaker at that lecture, which is held in honour of Lord Peter Melchett, our policy director, who died in 2018, this year will be Andy Cato, who some of you may have known from Groove Armada, perhaps not, but others will recognise as the founder of Wild Farmed, which is a mixed arable and livestock farm enterprise. Now, Andy was effectively knighted in France. That's not possible, as you'll know, the Republic, but effectively awarded the equivalent of a knighthood in France for his services to agriculture whilst farming in France, and has brought some of that thinking and taken, as far as we know, some of those approaches around regenerative, mixed farming, and the metrics and measures that are associated with those, as far as almost anyone, perhaps, in the UK. So we're very pleased that Andy's agreed to speak at that lecture. Just to do some thanks next for today. Firstly, to the fantastic Soil Association team that have done all the hard work behind the scenes. We'll do one big round of applause in a moment, if that's all right. So that's Anna Alamand, Astrid Barrowman, and Gareth Morgan in particular, but lots of others too. Secondly, I obviously want to thank the 18 Foundation and Stratton Parker BNP Paribas for their support with the event today. I hope you've enjoyed being hosted by them. And finally, I just want to reference Ashton Trust, Esme Fairbairn Foundation, Samworth Foundation, and 30 Percy, who are the broader funders of our 10 Years for Agroecology work at the Soil Association, of which this event is part. So thank you very much to all of those people that have contributed so much to today. All right, some themes. So, where to start with themes from today. I just want to pick out three and lead you into just one parting thought. The first is around transformation. The need for structural change, the urgency that we all understand and have effectively bound ourselves into through things like those legally binding targets on biodiversity reversal and our commitments on net zero. So I won't talk about it more, but there's that evident need for structural big system change. The second, and it was really brought home to me perhaps most of all by Tim Benton today, is the connectedness of everything here. So we are thinking about political systems, social systems, economic systems, cultural norms, the way we frame problems as much as about the problems themselves. But we're also talking about natural systems. We're talking about the human body. We're talking about the living soil and the power of the soil and other living systems to regenerate themselves. And that's complicated. And there are unintended consequences. If we don't allow the soil to heal itself, it will hurt us more. If we don't allow, if we don't tackle climate change, it will hurt us more. So there are tipping points in this system. It's an unstable system. But let me tell you something about tipping points. They work two ways. You can create positive tipping points that allow nature to regenerate itself, allow human systems to improve, and you can create incentives in political and economic and social systems that change norms, change attitudes, change what's rewarded. So in those tipping points, there is hope. There is the power to change. And that's the thought that I want to leave you on, actually. And it's around what's your relationship with the time you've spent with us today. It's been a day where I'm sure you've learned a lot. And the main purpose of today for many of you will be to gain that information. But I do want to ask you all to reflect on your role in relation to that information as you go forward from today. So many of you, all of you, will be able to act in your lives around the information that you've learned today and you've taken on. And that might be as a farmer, it might be as a policymaker or an influencer or a parent, or simply as a consumer choosing what to buy or eat or use. So at that individual level you can act. But you can also act in influencing others. Many of you are in positions of great influence. So use that power to influence norms, to help others. That's what education is around. The Soil Association was founded as an educational charity. That's the class of charity that we are, to educate people about this vital relationship between the health of soils, animals, plants, and people. So use that power in education. Now, it could be a share on social media. It could be through supporting organisations like the Soil Association as a charity that are involved in educating others, bringing events together today that move debates forward, like today, that move debates forward. So think about how you can act in your social world. And finally, think about how you can act in your professional capacity to change this context in which we all as individuals live and operate. Think about how you can influence policy. Think about how you can influence economic systems. And that's much more straightforward for some people than it is for others. But in this room, and for those of you online, you have so much power to influence that change. So that's the parting thought. The parting thought is simply just have a think about what your relationship is with the information that you've learned today, because there's one frame that says, well, I feel informed. I understand that things need to change. And there's a very different framing that says, well, now I'm going to take some action. And of course, you all feel we're taking action day to day, but I just want to encourage you to think about your relationship with all of the information, not to be overwhelmed by the enormity of that challenge, but just to remember those positive tipping points, the healing, the opportunity to reframe problems, the power of education, the tipping points that government has in the ways it thinks about public procurement or a nitrogen strategy. Maybe the cost of nitrogen as it is now is actually a really good model for what it would be if we really measured the true externalities of the cost of nitrogen. Good learning, maybe, through an unfortunate set of consequences. Perhaps a little rehearsal for us all. But those tipping points do exist, so just do think about how you can act in those three levels: your individual lives, socially, and changing that context. Look, I hope you've enjoyed today. Our time is up. I just want to say thank you very much to all of the speakers. Thank you very much to all of those of you online, particularly those that are still with us at this point in the day and have submitted questions. And thank you very much to all of you in the room. I hope you've enjoyed the day.